Yes. Okay. Yeah, we'll continue then. I was talking about chemical properties of water. And in that first property, what we discussed was the amphoteric nature of water. Water can act as both acid as well as base. Okay. So according to Bronsted, you need to remember, according to them, acid is a substance which will give a H plus ion and base is a substance which will take H plus ion. Okay. This will take and acid will give. Okay, this base will take, and that is what I explained here. Base, when water is taken with the acid, that time water will act as a base. Okay, in the presence of acid, they act as a base and they take one H plus ion from the acid and they convert it into the conjugate acid. Okay, similarly, when you are taking them in the presence of base, they will give their H plus ion, okay, and get converted to OH minus. The other compound, that is like if I take now ammonia, which is NH3, will get converted to conjugate acid. Okay, so that was the first chemical nature what we discussed. Now the second, that they even show redox reaction. Okay, water is involved in redox reaction. Like if I take water with the sodium, when water is made to react with sodium, you know what happens? The hydrogen in the water, okay, if I break this HOH, sodium being more reactive can come and displace this hydrogen. Okay, and then it gives sodium hydroxide. Correct, it gives you sodium hydroxide, and then there is release of hydrogen gas. So during the process, what has happened here is water, if I'm talking about water, water is easily actually reduced. Okay, if you see here, water is getting reduced in the presence of the highly reactive metal. Okay, so it gives you the sodium hydroxide and hydrogen, but what is happening to water is water is getting reduced. Okay, and next, one more reaction you can talk about: photosynthesis. During photosynthesis, what happens to water? So if I take carbon dioxide, okay, during photosynthesis, you know, carbon dioxide combines with water in the presence of sunlight, and they give you glucose plus oxygen. Glucose is C6H12 and then O6, plus you get oxygen. Okay, O2 will be formed. If I have to balance this equation, I have 6 carbon here, so I'll get 6 carbon dioxide and then 12 hydrogen, so this will be 12 H2O. And altogether you can count the oxygen. Here we have 12 plus 6, 18, and here I have 6. I should make this 12 now. Okay, so 12 means I should multiply by 6. So this is the balanced equation. Now during the process, if you talk about this water getting converted to oxygen, so what has happened? They have lost their hydrogen. Correct, during the process, loss of hydrogen is called as oxidation. No, loss of hydrogen is oxidation. So water has undergone oxidation here, and here I told you water has undergone reduction. Okay, during the process it has undergone a reduction. So this is a redox reaction which is taking place. Okay, example for redox reaction. Then coming to hydrolysis. Hydrolysis is if water, in presence of water, you make some compounds to react. Okay, they undergo breakage in the presence of water. Like for example, P4O10. Okay, P4O10, when made to react with water, in the presence of water, this will break down. Okay, phosphorus compound, that bond which is there, no, between them, that breaks down and they combine with them. Okay, to form phosphoric acid, that is H3PO4. Hydrolysis means where the chemical breakage of the compound takes place in the presence of water. Lysis means breaking down. Okay, lysis means breaking down, and hydro means in the presence of water. If this breakage happens, then that is called as hydrolysis. So P4O10, when made to react with water, it gives you this phosphoric acid. So there is breakage actually of this bond taking place to give rise to a new compound. Bonds are broken down. Another example, SiCl4, silicon tetrachloride, when made to react with water. Okay, this also breaks down. Silicon will combine with oxygen. Okay, so gives SiO2 plus HCl will be formed. This hydrogen goes out with Cl and silicon combines with the oxygen, because here hydrogen is more electropositive, no? If I break them, this is positive and this is negative here. And here we have this positive and this is negative. So silicon combines with oxygen, forms silicon dioxide, plus hydrogen combines with chlorine to give you HCl. So there we are having 4 molecules of chlorine. So I will multiply this by 4. Okay, then 4 hydrogen. So I should multiply this by 2. So it will be proper. It's a balanced equation. Okay, this is what you get. So breaking down again of this compound takes place in the presence of water. So it's a hydrolysis process. Okay, some are ionic compound and some are covalent bonds which are broken down. You just remember the equation, okay? Now if I have to balance this here, I have 4 phosphorus. This will be multiplied by 4, okay? So 4 3s are 12. So this should be 6 H2. Yeah, so hydrolysis, okay? Next is hydrate formation. Again, your students, you just need to remember the example, okay? Hydrates are when water reacts with the compound. So we have 3 different kinds of hydrates to study. One is coordinated water. You just remember the example. Okay, in detail you'll be studying in second year what is coordination compound and everything. So one is coordinated water. One is coordinated water and second one is interstitial water. Interstitial water, and the last one we have hydrogen bonded water. Okay, hydrogen bonded water. So for this you need to just remember example. Now coordinated water means, I'll just give you a brief idea what is coordinated compounds are. See, coordination compounds are those compounds where metal, maybe in their atom state or ionic state, okay, they provide their d orbitals, okay, they provide their empty d orbitals, and these negative ions come and occupy. It can be negative ions or it can be neutral molecules. It can be neutral molecule, but if they have electron pair with them, lone pair of electron, then they can donate their electron pair and they bind with the metal. Okay, so metal has no contribution. Metal is not giving their electrons to anyone. Okay, metal in their ion state or in their atomic state, they just provide their empty d orbital, and this negative ions, they come and bond with them. So such type of compounds are called as coordination compounds. So if water is involved in that coordination, so it will be called as coordinated water compounds. Okay, so example for those compounds are, one example, see here, this complex CrH2O6. Okay, and then 3 plus is a charge of the complex. That charge is because of chromium ion was in +3 state. So you can see here 6 water molecules have come and binded with the metal, chromium metal. So this type of compounds are called as coordinated compounds. Okay, where water gives their electron pair. You know, water has one electron pair with them, can be donated. 2 electron pairs are there, but one they will utilize for donation. So they donate their electron pair to bind with the metal. Okay, and 3 plus charge is there on the compound. So they combine with 3 negative ions to just neutralize their charge. So they can combine with 3 chloride ion. So then finally, if they combine with 3 chloride ion like this, 3Cl minus. So if they, you can cross multiply. If they combine with 3 chloride ion, then Cl3 I can write. I will remove this. Directly I'll write the compound. Cl3 in this way. Okay, the charge on the complex was 3 plus. I'll write it here if you're not able to see it. See, this is the complex, okay, where chromium was in +3 state. Now this +3, to neutralize, they can combine with a negative ion, Cl minus. So how many Cl minus ion can combine with this 3 plus? To satisfy 3 plus charge, 3 negative ions can be combined, no? So I said you can cross multiply now. When you cross multiply, you get CrH2O6, Cl3. Okay, that is what I wrote here. This is an example for coordinated water, where water is acting as an electron who is giving their electron pair to bind with the metal. Okay, then we have interstitial water compounds. So interstitial compounds are, just now I told you what are interstitial space. Okay, interstitial means if I have these atoms or if these are the molecules, okay, in between them there will be a place. Okay, in between them, whatever place is available, this place is called as interstitial site. This site is called as interstitial site. So in between this, when the compounds are being formed, in between this place, if water gets trapped, okay, if water is trapped now, okay, when the compounds are formed, if water gets trapped in this space, okay, the empty space which is there between the molecules or between the elements, then that will be called as interstitial water. Like when barium chloride salt is formed, BaCl2, okay, when barium chloride salts are formed, imagine there are moisture present. So if moistures are present, little amount of water was present, then that water will get trapped in between the salt. So we write barium chloride. When the calculation is been done, you will find barium chloride will have two water molecule present along with them. So it's called as barium chloride dihydrated, okay, two water molecules. Like that we have many compounds where they trap water molecules between their crystals, okay. During crystallization process this will happen. Like if I take now sodium chloride and if you allow them to form the crystal, okay, in between the process there are chances that sodium chloride can trap certain water molecule, okay, then it will be called as sodium chloride hydrated. If they don't contain any water, then we call them as anhydrous, okay. The other day I was telling you about aluminum chloride. Anhydrous is taken because they don't have any water molecule present, okay. I believe it is clear. Interstitial water compound means if in between the interstitial site, if water gets trapped, okay. So one example I gave you is this barium chloride. There are many examples like that. Okay, now last one is hydrogen bonded water. Okay, if hydrogen bonding is taking place in this kind of salts, like example for that is copper sulfate. Okay, example, I'll directly give you example. Copper sulfate pentahydrated. Okay, this can be example for, it is an example for coordinated as well as for hydrogen bonding, okay, because five water molecules are there. In that they have found that four water molecule goes for forming coordinated bond, okay. So four water molecules is using coordinate bond, and last one water molecule is there. That last one water molecule, okay, forms a hydrogen bond. So that forms hydrogen bond with the sulfate, okay. This one will form hydrogen bond. Okay, you just remember example. In detail we will not go because it's not important for you all. Okay, so now I am not going in detail because it will be simply which is required, I will be telling you in next year. Okay, so you just remember one example, that will be enough. Okay, so hydrate formations are these. Now we'll go for next topic. Next is an important topic for us, that is what is hard water and what is soft water. Okay, this is our next topic, important topic for your syllabus also. Now, hard water and soft water means what? Hard water means which contains, if they contain dissolved salt. Now, I'll talk about hard water first. Okay. If they contain dissolved salts of what? Bicarbonate. Okay. Bicarbonates. Plus, if they have chlorides plus sulfates. Okay. Sulfate of which one? Of calcium and magnesium. Okay, so if you find like calcium bicarbonate, calcium chloride, calcium sulfate, or magnesium bicarbonate, magnesium chloride, or magnesium sulfate present in the water, then such water will be called as hard water. Okay, now what is soft water? Soft water will not contain any of these, whatever I spoke just now. Okay, soft water will not contain bicarbonate, chloride, or sulfate of calcium and magnesium. Okay, they are pure. Yeah, correct. They are pure. They are free from all of these ions. Okay, so hard water means they will contain all this. You need to remember it's a bicarbonate, chloride, and sulfate of what? Calcium and magnesium. Okay, now if you take hard water and make it to react with the soap, okay, hard water and soft water both, you can see here hard water is taken. If you take hard water, they don't give you lather, it don't give you much lather, okay, very little will be formed. It doesn't form only, sometimes it doesn't form itself, okay, very little will be formed with it. But if you are taking soft water, you will see that you get more of lather with the soft water. Now why does that happen, that hard water doesn't give you lather? Because this soaps are there, no, they are made up of sodium and potassium salt of carboxylic acid, fatty acids. You might have studied this in your high school. Do you remember what are soaps? Soaps are made up of sodium or potassium. Okay, this is just for you to remember, sodium or potassium salt of carboxylic acid. Okay. So these are made up of these compound. So that carboxylic acid will have a long chain. If you remember, there was a head part and tail part. Okay. So they have this ionic part. And then you will be having sodium or potassium ion, which will be present outside. Okay. So this will be that carboxylic acid part, CO minus part. And sodium will be present outside. So now this, if it is hard water, no, what happens is this particular soap part which is there, that combines with the whatever dissolved salts are there, no, like if I have calcium chloride now, it will combine with the calcium, okay, and then they form a precipitate. So if they form a precipitate, whatever soap part is there, no, everything will start forming a precipitate, so you don't get any lather, okay, because of the scum formation. But if it is soft water, they don't form any precipitate like that. They directly react with the water, and there is nothing else present, so they give you lather, okay. So this will give rise to a scum formation, okay. Precipitate will be formed. You can see that precipitate is because of the carboxylic acid part reacting with the salt, okay, calcium or magnesium sulfate, anything it can be, okay. So that is why it doesn't react. So you require much amount of soap. Once all the soap gets dissolved in that hard water, if all the ions which are present in the hard water, it reacts with the soap, okay, and then there is no iron present, then the remaining water will start reacting with the soap, and then they will give you lather, okay. Yeah, hard water, they will conduct electricity. Yes, they will conduct electricity. Okay, so that is the difference between hard water and soft water. I believe it is clear. Okay, now example for this hard water. Hard water example is sea water. Okay, sea water is one example. And then river water, because these will contain all these ions, okay, chloride, sulfates, bicarbonate, everything will be there. So these are example for river water, and sea water example for hard water, okay. Coming to soft water, example is distilled water, because they don't contain any ions, okay. Distilled water doesn't contain any iron. And even rainwater, okay, the pure rainwater is there, no, if they are not mixed with any ions, then they will be coming under soft water category, okay. So that is about hard and soft. Now there are two kinds of hardness, okay. Forget about the soft water, because we are not going to talk about that, because it doesn't contain anything much, okay. We are going to talk about now hard water. So now types of hardness of water. There are two kinds of hardness. Okay. One which is called as temporary hardness, and the other one is called as permanent hardness. Okay. We have two kinds of hardness for water. So one is, I said, permanent hardness, and the other one is temporary hardness. Now temporary hardness is because of, now what is present which leads to temporary hardness? If there is soluble bicarbonate, okay, only if bicarbonates are present. You know, there are three different kinds. One is bicarbonate, we have chloride, and we have sulfate. But if only bicarbonates are present, of which one? Of magnesium and calcium, okay. If only these are present of magnesium and calcium, then that will lead to temporary hardness. But if there is presence of the remaining two things, compounds are there, no, that is chloride, okay. So if you are having now chlorides and sulfates present, okay, chloride and sulfates present of magnesium and calcium, if these are present, then that will lead to permanent hardness, okay. Clear? Soluble bicarbonates, if they are present, that leads to temporary hardness. But if there is chloride and sulfates present, that will lead to permanent hardness, okay, of both calcium as well as magnesium. Now this temporary hardness is there, no, see the name temporary they are saying, that means it is not going to stay for a long time. You can remove it easily, okay. So this can be removed. It can be removed by a simple process, just by boiling, okay. So that method we are using is just boiling. See, if you are going to boil, it will give rise to soft water. Okay, you can remove the hardness. Now this permanent hardness is there. No, that cannot be removed just that easily. Okay, it is going to stay there. See, if you want to remove that ions which are present, that is chloride and sulfate, then you have to do a chemical treatment. Okay, Just by boiling, physical method cannot be used. Okay, you need to do a chemical treatment. After doing a chemical treatment means you should add some chemical compound which will combine with this chlorides and sulfate and form some other compound which can be removed that very easily. Okay, just by filtration if you are able to remove it. So that is called as chemical treatment. Okay, so this is about the type of hardness of water, temporary and permanent. Okay, I told you temporary is because of this bicarbonate, permanent is because of chloride and sulfates. Okay, temporary hardness can be removed easily just by boiling method, and permanent hardness cannot be removed. It cannot be removed by boiling. You need to do a chemical treatment for that. Okay, you should add some chemical which will remove the hardness, permanent hardness. Okay, now we'll go for those methods of removing the temporary as well as the permanent hardness of water. Okay, one by one we will discuss. These topics are little important. Okay, which can be asked in your exam. So methods to remove the temporary hardness of water. We'll start with the first method. First method is boiling method. Okay, to remove the temporary hardness. So you're just going to boil the solution. So when you boil now, if I take calcium bicarbonate, so you know temporary hardness is because of bicarbonate. Calcium bicarbonate is this way. Formula I'm writing here. CaHCO3. Okay, also called as hydrogen carbonate. So calcium hydrogen carbonate, two molecules of HCO3 you can see attached to calcium. So when you do the heating of this, okay, when you heat any bicarbonate, okay, initially what happens is it will break down, and here there is carbonate present. Okay, so they will escape out during the heating process. Okay, they form calcium carbonate. Okay, they will form calcium carbonate plus water goes out and even carbon dioxide will go out. Okay, these will escape out during the process. So remaining is what? Only calcium carbonate will be remaining. Okay, so that calcium carbonate which is left out, you can filter it and then remove it from the water. Okay, so this is the method. If calcium hydrogen carbonate is present, when you are heating them, it forms calcium carbonate. Okay, this is the compound which is formed, and this is insoluble. Okay, this compound is insoluble. It is insoluble. So if they are insoluble, you can see in the solution at the end. So once you see it, you try to filter it. Okay, remove it by filtration. Okay, that is calcium hydrogen carbonate. Now similarly, we will take magnesium also. So magnesium hydrogen carbonate, MgHCO3, two molecules. If you are heating, see even this will break down in a similar fashion. It will give you magnesium carbonate plus it will give you water plus there will be carbon dioxide escaping out. Okay, now see magnesium compared to calcium and magnesium, you talk about the size. Who is larger in size and who is smaller in size? Which comes first in the period? Okay, size wise, you know magnesium comes first. You know, it is atomic number 12 and calcium is atomic number 20. So magnesium will come first. Calcium is larger in size. Yes, correct. Calcium is larger in size and magnesium is smaller in size. Okay, so smaller ions are there. No, see, smaller ions, cations, will be usually stable with the smaller anions. Larger cation will get stabilized by a larger anion. Okay, so you remember this concept. Smaller cations usually get stabilized by smaller anions. Okay, they are stable with them. And larger cation will be more stable with the larger anion. Okay, because more electron density. So like that. So here, during the process, now for this thing, magnesium is there, no? Magnesium, for them, carbonate becomes little larger as the anion. So they undergo hydrolysis further. This will break down further. Okay, this whole thing breaks down, and further what happens is this magnesium carbonate will get hydrolyzed. So they form magnesium hydroxide. Okay, further they break down and they form magnesium hydroxide. Plus from here carbon dioxide will go out. Okay, so plus carbon dioxide will go out. Plus here also one carbon dioxide is there. So this carbon dioxide. Okay, so two molecules of carbon dioxide and one molecule of magnesium hydroxide will be formed in case of magnesium hydrogen carbonate. So see, the products are not same. Okay, remember this. Calcium bicarbonate, when you are heating, it forms calcium carbonate, and calcium is larger in size, will get stabilized by the larger anion. So this is a stable compound which will be formed. Insoluble it is. So you need to filter it and remove this insolubility. Okay, insoluble compound. Then magnesium hydrogen carbonate, when you are heating, okay, you can write the same compound. First you write, because first initially breakdown will happen in a similar fashion. But magnesium, if you allow it to keep it for a longer time, they combine with water. They get hydrolyzed by the water. They form magnesium hydroxide. And then this carbon dioxide will escape out. See from here, MgCO3, no, it is MgCO3 plus water, okay, H2O. So there you have H plus, or you can write like this, okay, 2 hydrogen and then 2 oxygen, no? Because magnesium, if they have to combine with OH, they require 2 OH minus. So you can combine directly like that. Okay, 1 magnesium with 1 oxygen from here you take, and then 1 oxygen from here and 2 hydrogen. So like that we got MgOH twice. Plus remaining is carbon dioxide. So CO2 will escape out. Okay, you can combine this and club them together and write. I will just club them together. Okay, instead of writing CO2 and CO2, you can write 2 CO2. Okay, this is the final product you should write. Now remember, anytime when you find calcium hydrogen carbonate, you will give calcium carbonate as the final compound. Whenever you see magnesium hydrogen carbonate, you will write magnesium hydroxide as the final compound. Okay. Now we'll go for next method. This is first method to remove the temporary hardness. Okay, next one. Next method is also called as Clark's method. Okay, discovered by the person called as Clark's. So what he has done is, he made the lime compounds are there, no, to make it to react with this carbonate. Okay, so here lime is taken, that is calcium hydroxide. Lime water we are going to take, calcium hydroxide is taken to make it to react with these compounds, that is calcium hydrogen carbonate and magnesium hydrogen carbonate. So then they will form a precipitate. Just now what you saw, okay, same precipitates will be formed, that is calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide at the end, and those will be insoluble in water. So those insoluble compounds need to be filtered out. So you filter it out and then you will get soft water. Okay, so this is another method, Clark's method, to remove the temporary hardness. Okay, so now see how the equation will go. You are supposed to add lime here. Okay, lime is nothing but calcium hydroxide we are adding. So see equation wise, so I am taking calcium HCO3 hydrogen carbonate plus make it to react with calcium hydroxide, that is CaOH twice. Okay, so it will give you calcium carbonate at the end. If you want, you can just break them like this and write. Okay, just to eliminate, we know it will finally give us calcium carbonate. Okay, so I'm just breaking and writing it like this. Ca, then I have here OH and then OH. Okay, so calcium will finally combine with carbonate. So you can take this one calcium combine with this carbonate here, and another calcium also will combine with carbonate. Okay, remaining is what? H is remaining here and H over here, and then OH on this side and OH on the other side. So you write that compound at the end. So I can write here final compound as calcium carbonate. 2 molecules of calcium carbonate I'll be getting, plus remaining is 2 molecules of water. Okay, so this will be the product. Okay, when you take this calcium compound, make it react with this. Now similarly, when you are taking with the magnesium hydrogen carbonate with this lime, that is calcium hydroxide, okay, what will be your product now? So you will get different products, because you know calcium will combine with this, whatever bicarbonates are there, no, they will break down, finally you will get carbonate. So calcium will combine with carbonate, and magnesium will give you hydroxide. Okay, so there are 3 compounds which will be formed. One is you will get calcium carbonate, plus you will get magnesium hydroxide, and plus the water will be formed. Okay, because this further, even magnesium carbonate which is formed further gets hydrolyzed to give you magnesium hydroxide and water molecule. Okay, so this will be the product, remember. Now you can balance it. The first one is already balanced. Okay, second one you can balance. I'll take other color. Okay, now see how to balance this. See the number of atoms which are present. How many carbonates we are having here? Two, no? You can see here, two are there. So that means two molecules of calcium carbonate has to be formed. So 2CaCO3 will be formed. So if it is 2 calcium, that means here also it should be 2. Okay. So it is 2 CaOH twice. Okay. And one magnesium will combine with one this. So here is the equation. Okay. And all of these are precipitate. So I am putting this arrow mark down. These two are precipitate. Here also this is a precipitate. Okay, we'll go for next now. These are the two methods, okay, students. One is boiling method and the other one is Clark's method. Clark method, we are making use of calcium hydroxide. Okay, lime you need to make use to remove the temporary hardness. Now let's go for next one. That is methods to remove the permanent hardness of water. Okay, methods to remove permanent hardness of water. So permanent hardness is because of two things. One is because of chloride and the other one is because of sulfate. Okay, one is chloride and the other one is sulfate ions. Magnesium and calcium. So we'll start with first one. First method is treatment with washing soda. You know what is washing soda? Can you tell me what is the formula of washing soda? If you know, you tell me. You can tell me the name. Formula, if writing is difficult, you can just tell me the name. What is washing soda called as? Okay, good, correct. Yeah, that is the formula, no? So sodium carbonate. Sodium carbonate is washing soda. So Na2CO3. So you have to make use of this sodium carbonate with the chloride as well as with sulfate. Okay, so we have now. Yes, let me get back to this. So I was telling the temporary hardness can be removed by treating with washing soda. Okay, and washing soda is sodium carbonate. So we have metal chloride as well as metal sulfate. Okay, so that we have for, see, we have calcium chloride and we have magnesium chloride. We have calcium sulfate and magnesium sulfate. Okay, so instead of writing four reactions now, see, these all these compound can combine, no, with sodium carbonate and give you the precipitate. So instead of writing it now four times, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this metal generally as M. Okay, because both of their valencies are similar, no? Both of their valencies are 2 plus. Agree with that? Calcium is also 2 plus and magnesium is also 2 plus. Okay, so I will generally write this as metal chloride as MCl2. Okay, so M stands for, here what M I am denoting is for either calcium ion or it is for magnesium ion. Okay, M2 plus. Generally I have written as M. When you combine with chloride, you will get MCl2. Okay, here also similarly I can write this as metal sulfate. Okay, M, where M stands for again calcium or magnesium. Okay, so generally we will write, below that you can write what M stands for. Okay, so let me see, write the equation, see how it is. First one, metal chloride. Okay, that is MCl2. You can write that down, where metal can be, it is calcium or it is magnesium. Okay, so when metal chloride is made to react with sodium carbonate, you can cross this and write it is double decomposition reaction. Okay, it's a double decomposition reaction where one cation will go with the another anion and this cation of other compound will go with this anion. Okay, so what will be the compound? You can actually tell me what will be the compounds which will be formed. during the process. This metal will be positive and here chloride, this sodium positive and here carbonate. Okay, yes, metal will go with the carbonate here, so it will give you metal carbonate which will be insoluble. Okay, and sodium will combine with chloride. Okay, so it will give you sodium chloride. Okay, so see the compound, you will get MCO3 because metal valency is a 2 plus, carbonate valency is 2 minus. Okay, M is in 2 plus state, carbonate is in CO3 2 minus state. Both will cancel out each other. You get MCO3 plus remaining is sodium. Sodium valency, you know, it is Na plus and chloride valency is Cl minus. So you'll get 2 molecules of NaCl. Okay, correct? You will combine based on their valencies, not based on the number of atoms. Okay, they combine based on their valencies. So this is first one. When metal chlorides is made to react with sodium carbonate. Now we'll take metal sulfate, MSO4. Okay, when metal sulfate is made to react with sodium carbonate, Na2CO3. So that will give us metal carbonate. Again, I will break this. Okay, metal is positive and sulfate is negative. Again, sodium is positive and carbonate is negative. Okay, so metal carbonate and sodium sulfate. Yes. So I'll get MCO3, correct? MCO3 plus sodium is in plus 1 state, no? And you know, sulfate is SO4 2 minus. Na is plus. Okay, and sulfate is SO4 2 minus. So the salt which you are going to write will be Na2SO4. Okay, and it's balanced. It's a correct equation. Followed the first treatment which we have done. Now these will be insoluble. Okay, this metal carbonates which are formed, it will be like a precipitate. So these precipitates should be removed out. Okay, now we'll go for next one. No, we just call it as this compound's name. No, it is sodium sulfate. We just go on seeing the cation, what is it is, and sulfate. Okay, the negative ion, that's it. You can call it as disodium sulfate also. Okay, but usually we commonly call them as sodium sulfate. Like now, if you have AlCl3, what do you call them? Aluminium chloride, no? Yes. Okay, now we'll go for next one, next method. For removing the permanent hardness, that is Calgon's method. Okay, Calgon is just a white powder. Okay, like it looks like your detergent. White powders are there, no? But chemically, what are they? I will tell you. Chemically, they are actually sodium. Okay, it is sodium hexa metaphosphate. Okay, hexa metaphosphate. Commercially, they will be sold under this name. Calgon is a commercial name. Actually, Calgon, it's made up of two words. Okay, this cal stands for, this commercial compound is there. No, this cal stands for calcium actually. Okay, and this gon, just to remove that calcium. So to remove that calcium compound, okay, the other compound what you are going to use, so that's called as Calgon. Calcium gone means during this process calcium will be removed out. No, so it is called as Calgon. And commercial compound, actual name is this. Okay, now what is that? Actual compound is sodium hexametaphosphate. And formula is in this way. Sodium hexametaphosphate is Na6 P6O18. Okay, this is sodium hexametaphosphate. This compound we are going to make use to remove the hardness of water. That is magnesium ion as well as the calcium ion will be removed out during the process. Okay, now see how the reaction goes. First this complex will break down. Okay, you can break them down. I will go next slide. See here, Na6 P6, and then I said O18. Okay, this initially it's decomposes so that it will be able to get converted to a negative ion, and then after they are in the negative form, it will be able to take that positive ions. Okay, so it will break down like this: 2Na plus remaining I will be having 4 sodium ions will be remained if I remove 2Na plus. Why 2Na plus? Because one a calcium ion or magnesium ion is equivalent to 2 sodium ions. Okay, if I take one Ca2 plus, they have 2 plus charge on them. Okay, so if I have to balance the 2 plus charge, I would require to take 2 sodium ions. Only then it will become 2 equal. Okay, so we have to remove 2 Na plus ion. Okay, to take one calcium or magnesium ion. So these will get converted to Na4. Okay, 2 I have removed. So out of 6 now 4 will be remaining. So Na4 P6 O18. And what will be the charge on them if I remove 2 Na plus? Charge on them will come as it should become equal. No, finally you should get a neutral compound. So charge on them will be 2 minus. Okay, so this compound is initially formed. Okay, so 2 minus, yes, 2 minus will be formed. So now this compound will take that ion. Okay, so Na4 P6 O18 2 minus will combine with that metal ion. Okay, so metal 2 plus in the 2 plus charge. No, so I told you this metal can be, this M2 plus can be Ca2 plus, or it can be Mg2 plus. Okay, so now this metal ion will come and again displace. Okay, displace 2 sodium ion. So you'll get Na2, then M. Okay, one magnesium came and sat inside this, magnesium or calcium, whatever it is. Okay, so you'll get Na2 M, then P6 O18. Okay, it's a complex actually. Okay, this is how the reaction happens. And then same charge, because we did not remove anything extra. And whatever removal we have done, we have replaced it by the calcium or magnesium ion. Okay, plus 2 sodium ions will go out during the process. Okay, so that sodium ion will combine with that negative part of whatever is attached here, chloride or sulfate. Okay, so that's how the process takes place. So this is Calgon's method, and this is the equation. Okay.